In Pirc Defense, the starting moves are 1 e4 and then d6 or g6. The Pirc Defense is a modern opening and a response to White's 1 e4. Black gives up the center and refuses to fill it with pawns, but instead builds up slowly with defensive moves such as d6 and g6. To fianchetto the dark square bishop, White also often plays f4 and eventually e5 to add more center control. Main variations in Pirc defense include Austrian Attack, Classical Variation, Byrne Variation, Sveshnikov System, and modern Pirc. Let us check the main ideas and plans for the Pirc defense. Please like, share video and subscribe to the channel so that we can create more such quality content for you. White opens with 1 e4 taking the center control and opens the diagonals for development of pieces. Black gives up the center and refuses to fill it with pawns but instead builds up slowly with defensive moves like d6 and g6. Here, 2d4 is the main move by White. Rarely White plays knight f3 to avoid the main line and to transpose the game into 2c5 Sicilian defense or 2e5 Fildor defense. After 2d4, Black's main move is knight f6, challenging White's center. White can defend e4 in different ways like knight c3, f3, bishop d3, knight d2. We recommend knight c3. Here, Black has two main choices, g6 and e5. With g6, Black places bishop on the long diagonal, preparing to castle and putting long-term pressure on White's center. White has multiple options. Let us check them one by one. White can play f4, called Austrian Attack. This is White's most aggressive variation against the Pirc defense. White threatens e5 immediately. Although it is not so dangerous for Black, Black can continue his normal development with bishop g7. White mainly plays knight f3, preparing e5 pawn break next. Black can counter-strike with c5 or continue normal development with castle. We recommend castle. The game can proceed as follows. Bishop d3, knight c6, castle, e5, f takes e5, d takes e5, d5, and knight d4. Both sides have fair chances. Instead of 4 f4, White can play 4 knight f3, called classical variation. White develops solidly with a central space advantage. Black continues with normal developing move bishop g7. White can play bishop e2, preparing for castle. After both sides castle, Black has many options like c6, knight c6, bishop g4, e5, a6, etc. Although White has more central space, Black can strike White's center at the right time, getting enough counterplay. Next variation is 4 bishop g5, called Byrne Variation. White develops dark square bishop and keeps his options flexible to castle long or short. Black continues with normal developing move bishop g7. After White plays queen d2, castle, long castle is good for White. So instead of castle, Black normally plays h6, challenging the bishop. Here, White can play bishop h4, bishop f4, bishop e3. As earlier, although White has more central space, Black can get enough counterplay by striking White's center at the right time. Next variation is 4 g3, called the Sveshnikov system. After bishop g7, bishop g2, castle, knight ge2, black can either directly strike white center with e5 or first play knight b d7, preparing to strike later. The game is pretty balanced. Last variation is 1g6 called modern Pirc or modern defense. Black prepares to fianchetto the bishop right away. After 2d4, bishop g7, knight c3, black has many options like d6, c5, d5, a6. We recommend d6. The game can proceed as follows. Bishop e3, a6, queen d2, b5, f3, knight d7, h4, h5, knight h3, c5. The position is dynamically balanced. With these main ideas and plans under your belt, now you can prepare and practice Pirc defense from white or black side. All the best.